What's up, guys? So I'm here to talk about some Dragon Age news. Some of you have been asking me to talk about the article in here. In my previous Dragon Age video, I mentioned a lot of stuff that were already talked about in this article. I also want to encourage you guys to go to the Gameinformer website and watch the videos where they talk about the information, because it's just so much cooler to see the videos. And if you're really looking forward to Dragon Age Inquisition, you really should do that. So for this video, I'm going to mention some things that are talked about in this article, and I'm also going to talk about the Gamescom, the Gamescom news, which was, it was so good. I have my first reaction of the footage that they showed. I will be putting that up soon. I might put an annotation here if I already have it up. So when it comes to the article, I'm going to talk about specific issues that some people have been asking me on my previous Dragon Age video, and this article addresses some of those. So I'm going to be talking about that particularly, and then I'm going to be showing some footage of the Gamescom news, and then showing some pictures from the awesome book, The World of Thetis, just, you know, kind of speculating as to what or where Dragon Age Inquisition might be heading. So first of all, one of the things that I've heard people talking about, I've heard people have concerns about, is the type of narrative. A lot of people didn't really like the way that Dragon Age 2 was told, with it having been like an after the fact type of thing. Like everything that happened in Dragon Age 2 wasn't happening at that moment, you know what I mean? Like the actual moment, the point in time that Dragon Age 2 actually takes place is where Cassandra is talking to Varric. Everything that happened with Hawke is beforehand. So Varric is saying what happened, and you're playing through what had happened. So some people are actually worried that that's probably how it's going to be. BioWare has mentioned the word narrative, but just because they say it's a narrative, it doesn't mean that it's being narrated by someone like Varric, like Dragon Age 2. A narrative is also a story. It doesn't actually have to be someone actually telling the story. It could just be, you know, a story unfolding. But Dragon Age Inquisition is not like Dragon Age 2. It's more like Dragon Age Origins, where the occurrences are happening in that moment. You are the one that pushes the story forward. Another thing that I'm really happy about is, for the first time in a Dragon Age game, you're not going to be somebody's puppet. You're not going to be somebody's mission doer. Nobody is going to be telling you, oh, go do this and go do that, and like go on this mission and go do this and that. You know, you're actually starting off as somebody. It's not like you're trying to reach a specific position like you were in Dragon Age Origins and like Dragon Age and in Dragon Age 2. This time, you start off in a leadership position. You start off very early on in the game as the leader of the Inquisition, and you are the one that says what to do. Nobody is telling you, go do this, go do that. You are doing things on your own terms. You're nobody's errand boy or girl. You are the leader of the Inquisition, and it really wouldn't make sense for people to be telling you what to do with that type of position. In the Gamescom news that was revealed today, the 20th of August, Mike Laidlaw said that you actually have agents, like Inquisition agents. So instead of somebody telling you what to go do, you're telling your agents to go do specific missions. That got me so excited. I was like, how is that going to happen? How are you going to do that? My mind did go through to the multiplayer again. That is actually not something that has been confirmed by BioWare. That has to be, I have to make that clear. I have mentioned it a lot, but it's not confirmed or unconfirmed by BioWare. It's kind of hinted at just because of previous things that EA has said. But as of now, Dragon Age Inquisition is not confirmed to have a multiplayer or co-op aspect to the game. In the Gameinformer magazine, it says that it's a multiplayer mystery. So right now, we don't really know what's going on. BioWare hasn't directly confirmed it, but every time that Gameinformer would ask them about the multiplayer, BioWare would always say that they really loved the way that the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer worked, and how a lot of people thought that it wasn't going to work, and how it ended up being really popular for a lot of people. So that kind of leads me to think, especially with the whole aspect of the Inquisition and how you could level it up, it just screams multiplayer. Everyone has their main character. You have to level up this huge group, the Inquisition. And how better to add to your Inquisition level to play than to play multiplayer. I mean, I'm not saying that this is a great way to do it. I'm like you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of multiplayer. I like playing with people. It does become a fun aspect to a game if it's a franchise that I like and I'm playing with people that I know and all that. It could be pretty fun. But what better way to make it easier to level up a group than by adding it to multiplayer, which is already a group of people, a lot of people with different characters. So just like in Mass Effect 3, how you were like these operatives and all these people. I mean, they had nothing to do with Shepard or anything. They were just operatives that were working on the side, just soldiers that were working in the war as well. Kind of like saying it's not just Shepard, it's these other people as well. All these races. So I'm thinking that they're going to do the same thing with Dragon Age Inquisition. They're going to make it kind of like your galactic readiness type of thing, where if you play multiplayer, your Inquisition will level up more or it'll level up faster. And I was like, maybe this whole agent thing is probably a multiplayer aspect as well, because maybe it would be like the agents are the multiplayer characters, you know what I mean? And so you would be doing missions. So it would be kind of like, I mean, obviously you would think that these agents were under the rule of your Inquisitor. Now, you wouldn't be seeing the Inquisitor telling you what to do, obviously, but it would be like in the back of your mind kind of thing, you know, like, yeah, the Inquisitor is the one, I'm doing this for my Inquisitor because I'm an agent of the Inquisition. I could be completely wrong. That's just my speculation. If they do add a multiplayer, it's going to be very much like Mass Effect 3, where it's like you got to get your galactic readiness or the Inquisition leveled up by doing specific missions and that kind of thing. But it's going to be more like Baldur's Gate type of multiplayer, where it has a very big co-op feel to it. If you guys don't know what the Baldur's Gate multiplayer is like, I'll put a link in the description where you could see what it was like and read more about it. Because if they do go that route, which I really hope they do, if they are going to add multiplayer, if it's more like Baldur's Gate, I think it'll fit better than any other type of multiplayer for this type of game. I mean, it worked for Mass Effect 3 because it was a shooter, you know, and it was an action game. But for this type of game, it's going to be harder to try to mimic the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. So I think it would be better for them to aim for a multiplayer that's more like Baldur's Gate, where you do missions with your friends as like party members. A lot of people were worried about, especially after playing Dragon Age 2, that your choices weren't going to matter, that they were like, well, I don't know, they didn't really matter in Dragon Age 2, and they're probably not going to matter that much in Dragon Age Inquisition. BioWare already said that that's not the case at all. And you could obviously see with all of this stuff that they're saying, there's no way that your choice would not matter. I mean, this game it can't be linear. With all the stuff that they're doing, there's just no way that it could be linear, because it's a bigger open world. We can't really compare this Dragon Age title to the previous Dragon Age titles, because they're using a new engine, meaning that they have new options. The engine that they were using for Dragon Age 2 was the engine, a very similar engine that they used for Neverwinter Nights. That game is old. So that you couldn't really expect that much from Dragon Age 2 anyways. But with Dragon Age Inquisition, they're using the Frostbite 3 engine. And this engine is a next-gen engine. It cross-platforms, but it is for a next-gen console. And it also works for a PC. So it has a lot of capabilities and so many more opportunities for BioWare. So this is going to be a very different game. Nothing that we've ever seen before in this franchise, and you could already tell by everything that they're showing. I mean, all the environments they're showing, the combat system, everything. It looks so different, which is why I just watch this stuff with like my jaw open, because it's like, oh my god, it looks so different. It really makes me so excited because we're in for a Dragon Age game that we all know and love, but in a different way, like in a way that it really deserves this world, because I love this world. I think this world has so much richness to it, and to see it being done justice in the way that it looks, in the way that it's told, in the way that you get to play it, it's such a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean? It's just, oh, it's so good. This next piece of information is something that has been confirmed already on the site and all that, but I was still getting people in the comments saying, no, that hasn't been confirmed, and no, that's not true, you can't do that. And I was like, okay, it has to do with the Inquisitor, and the Inquisitor being able to change the race. Some people still don't believe that, and it has been absolutely confirmed in the article by BioWare. It says the Inquisitor is yours to create and guide. You choose from 3 classes: warrior, rogue, and mage, and at least 3 races. Now remember, it says at least. So that whole there being a different race, like a Kunari, possible Kunari to be, to play as a Kunari, that's not really a rumor. It's more of like, it's unconfirmed by BioWare, because BioWare is not saying yes or no. Look at what Mike Laidlaw said about that. Do we go to 4? I don't know. Definitely these are the safe bet. I thought it was just a rumor of people saying, but it's not. It's BioWare just not confirming and not unconfirming. No, people didn't just pull this out of the sky. Like I said, your choices will matter when it comes to your allegiances. You are absolutely in control of who you if you want to support somebody, you don't have to. If you want to support mages, Templars, anything like that. The Inquisition is a neutral ground, which is one of the reasons why it was formed, in order to bring control in a world full of chaos, and especially it being a group that is on a neutral ground, so that there's no political fights anywhere. Another thing that they were mentioning that people, I know is a concern for some people because they didn't really like it for Dragon Age 2, was in Dragon Age 2, the Deep Roads expedition, that was like in the very beginning, you couldn't move on forward without having enough money, without having enough gold to go to the Deep Roads expedition. But the problem with that was that your money was what made you get better armor. So it was like you had to choose between moving forward or expanding your character. I mean, obviously you're going to want to move forward. So it was like, that's not fair, because I want to spend money on getting myself better gear and all that stuff, but I can't because I have to save up for this Deep Roads expedition. So they're saying that that's not going to happen. They say that you just need to do enough to sufficiently bolster the Inquisition's reputation. Once you hit the threshold, you can access the next major plot sequence and progress to the next phase. But the resources you use to obtain better equipment are different from those that allow you to continue the story. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the open world. The open world. They're just calling it, like I said in my previous video, they're just calling it open world because all the areas are really big and you could explore those areas, but they're not completely open worlds where you could go absolutely wherever the hell you want to. Each of the areas we're building is larger than anything we've built before. And they're promising that there will not be any environment recycling like there was in Dragon Age 2. That was another thing that I saw, a concern on my video, people saying that better not happen in Dragon Age Inquisition. BioWare is absolutely saying that is nowhere to be found in Inquisition. Also, players aren't just funneled down narrow corridors. It's not like in Dragon Age, the previous titles, even Origins, where you're walking and then there's like boxes all over the place around you, so you can't go off to the right or off to the left. You could just be walking somewhere and then see something off to the distance and go over there and it's like a cave. And you're just like, ooh, I'm going to go explore the cave. Mike Laidlaw says that they want to add a lot of caves that you could explore. And not because someone sent you to go explore that cave, but because you bumped into it or just wanted to explore that cave. So they put things there whether you find them or not, but they're there. This brings me to the mount. This is why they're adding a mount, because they say that players have so much ground to cover that the team is implementing a mount system, which is more involved than simply riding a horse around. They say that you're not completely safe, although you're on your horse. You could be riding your horse and things could still attack you. It says that the open world is full of items to collect and content to discover both during the day and the night. That makes me think that there's different occurrences in the day and in the night. I love when the night cycle in a game becomes more dangerous. I really hope that that's what it means, that you find things differently in the day than you would at night. So since I'm talking about most concerns that people are having, here's something that I really have to mention. They're saying that although BioWare has done so many changes to the game from the previous titles, they're not making Dragon Age Inquisition in a standard open world fantasy. They wanted to add more exploration, but in no way were they ready to sacrifice their way of storytelling, their directed narrative, their deep character development, the relationships that you develop with the party members and all that. They weren't gonna sacrifice that. So this game is still mostly about that. They're just expanding it more so that you could, explore and just do different things, not be funneled in one direction all the time. The combat system, I was looking at it in the video, in the combat video that they have on Gameinformer. You guys should go see that. It's pretty cool. They give you a good idea of what the combat system is like. It looks a lot like Dragon Age 2's combat, where it's not like you could just leave the controller and have your character fighting like it was in Dragon Age Origins. You still have to respond, but there is more of like a tactical response there. It's not just, just mindlessly pressing A. As I said before, they're merging both combat styles. They're not taking it completely to the style of Dragon Age Origins, and they're not taking it completely to the style of Dragon Age 2. They're going kind of like for a middle ground there. So you could tell in that video that the combat has been kind of slowed down a little bit, so that you don't have to be pressing the attack button all fast because the enemies are coming at you. It's more of it's slower, a little bit slower. It's not to the point where like, oh my god, this is so boring. No, it's just a little bit slower, because not only do you have to stop and observe everything around you, not just observe but react, but the enemies do too. So the enemies work as a system also. There's more strategy. It's kind of like they got strategy and added it to Dragon Age 2. Just as you have different classes within your party members, the enemies have different classes as well. I like the sound of that. It doesn't sound like it sounds a little bit more realistic, because in Dragon Age Origins, it was very based off of like pausing, almost taking a bird's eye view, seeing all of it, and then like, okay, what should I do here? It's more of like a strategy-based combat, more on the side of the RPG style. And in Dragon Age 2, it was very hack and slashy. I didn't love it in Dragon Age 2. It was a little bit better for me in Dragon Age Origins, but it wasn't very realistic to me, because you could pause and you're just like, okay, wait guys. So this is more reaction based. So you get to see if you want to pause. It says that you could do the whole like pause. They're not saying if you could do that whole like pull out and like on your PC where you pull out and you're kind of like see the whole land, like kind of like a bird's eye view. They're not saying that if they're doing that or not. But you could go completely strategy-based, you could go in the middle ground, or you could just go completely, action-based type of combat. You still have skill trees, specializations, and abilities, kind of like the way that you did in Dragon Age 2. But now each class is going to have like a tactical significance. So each class plays a role on the battlefield. And they each are important in one way. You've got your tank, you've got your scrapper, you've got your mage, you've got your damage dealer, that kind of thing. Now for the thing that I didn't mention in my previous video, companions. Not many companions have been confirmed, but obviously the ones that have been confirmed have been shown in the previous trailers and are also on the cover, which are Cassandra and Varric. And Morrigan is also a confirmed returning character. Morrigan is not coming back as a party member. She's not a cameo either. So she has a pretty big role in Dragon Age Inquisition, but she's not going to join you on your party. I'm really curious of Morrigan's role. Now, a lot of people obviously bring up the God's Child that she had in Dragon Age Origins, but that's not canon. It's not canon because people had the choice of doing it and also of not doing it. Like for example, me. My Morrigan didn't have a child, so she just left. I think that the DLC Witch Hunt is going to apply to Dragon Age Inquisition. In that DLC, you just knew that Morrigan was up to something. You just knew that she was doing something. I think from Dragon Age Origins, she already knew that something was coming. I think she already, because of Flemeth and all that, even Flemeth had talked about like this chaos coming and something was coming. Flemeth talked about it, Morrigan kind of hinted at it, and even Sandal had talked about it, like mentioned it in Dragon Age 2. So it was all like these prophecies, or like these people kind of like having this feeling or these visions, or they knew something. And Morrigan probably knew that something was coming. I mean, why did she want the Godchild? Because she kind of like wanted to protect herself. Either from Flemeth or maybe from something that bigger that was coming. In the beginning, I thought that the bad guy was going to be Flemeth. I was like, that's Flemeth. You know, Flemeth is going to be she's finally going to be this big bad guy, freaking crazy dragon or whatever. But the more I think about it and the more I see, I don't think so anymore. BioWare is saying that they want to address a lot of things that have been left out in the open, that haven't been answered. A few of those things are Flemeth, Morrigan, where she went, where she's been, Red Lyrium, and what's going on with the Grey Wardens. In Dragon Age 2, you felt like Flemeth was trying to warn you of something. In the way that she would just like talk and the things that she would say, it was like she was warning you that something was coming. So I think Morrigan comes back because this tear in the veil, and it's not just a tear. I mean, because there are tears in the veil already, places that are sensitive in the Fade. I'm talking about like a freaking hole, like it ripped, and demons are coming in. Now, one thing that I was thinking about that, and I was like, what would have caused that? And I started to remember that all that whole thing that Mike Laidlaw has said, that there's a suspiciously amount of crazy things happening, of bad stuff happening, and how is that all tied? Well, I went to the Book of Thetis, and I was reading about the Fade. The reason why the Fade rips is because of all this bad stuff that is happening. Okay, so as I said, here's the World of Thetis. I've got the collector's edition because I'm cool like that. I think the most relevant part in this book, when it comes to the trailer and everything that they've been showing, is the section on the Fade, because they show actual footage or pictures that they actually show in the trailers. For example, that picture right there, that was in the trailer, as well as, or not the trailer, but the footage that they showed today for Gamescom. They showed this one as well, kind of animated, but they showed that. For sure, we're going to be going to the Fade in Dragon Age Inquisition. That's a no-brainer. I mean, not only because of the rip in the Fade, which they're calling the Breach, but also because of everything that they're showing. It's obvious that it's the Fade. This is the Black City right here. I don't know if you can see it. That has to do with the Tevinter Imperium. And here's what I think. The Veil is what separates the Fade from the waking world. It may be weakened in places where great death lingers or through the use of magic. Here's the part I'm talking about. On extremely rare occasions, the veil may tear. This may be done with powerful magic or come about after the slaughter of a great many people in a short period. I think that's exactly what is happening in Dragon Age Inquisition. And what is instigating this? I think it is a Tevinter Magister. I think that we're going to get an enemy that is going to be from the Tevinter Imperium, either a new Tevinter Magister, like a current one, or somebody like Corypheus from Dragon Age Legacy, I believe it was, for Dragon Age 2, the Magister that we had to fight. Either an old Magister like that, or a new one in the Tevinter Imperium. And then, of course, they end on the little segment where it says familiar faces. They end with this. We saw evidence suggesting that a certain red-haired Orlesian and a fan favorite knight captain could be poised for a comeback. Now, if you don't know who they're talking about, that's Liliana and Cullen. I'm so excited. Oh my god, I knew this from the get-go, man. I kept telling you guys, there's no way they're not adding Cullen. There is no freaking way there would be a huge riot of Cullen fans if they didn't even put him in there. So, hopefully it's not just a cameo. Hopefully, I really would love to see him as a party member. Liliana, it would be awesome to have her again as your party member. I think that they are going to put her as a party member. She just has a big role. After Dragon Age Origins, she completely went up in the ranks. I mean, she serves the Divine, like, firsthand. So, you saw that in Dragon Age 2. She's like the freaking Divine's agent. So, and she's from Orlais, which this is going to be taking mostly place in. So I think she's going to be part of your party, Liliana, and hopefully Cullen too. He's probably going to be the representative of the Templars. I'm pretty sure he probably went up in rank as well if he didn't just leave the Templars, which would be really weird. I don't think he would leave the Templars. But with everything that happened at the end of Dragon Age 2 and how he was involved in it and everything, he saw everything that was happening and the way that he reacted to it, if they do that, where it turns out that he left the Templars, I wouldn't be surprised. And then a new character that they're announcing is Vivienne. She is a mage, and she's an Orlesian. She was actually supposed to become the first enchanter in the Circle of Orlais. But with the rebellion against the Chantry and all that, that was postponed. She never became the first enchanter. So they say that they really want to incorporate not just characters like that you could just, whoa, cool, they're cool. They want to kind of tug you around, which is something that BioWare is really good at, tugging you around when it comes to the characters. They say that as someone who is extremely pro-circle, like Vivienne, what is left for that person when that entire system crumbles? And then let's say that you decide to be pro-mage, if you even want to, or you're just like, screw the mages. What about Vivienne? How do you feel about her? So they're reintroducing the whole rivalry system as well, friendship and rivalry. They don't like it just being so, and I hated that too, where it's like, oh, you gotta find a way to like these people. Like, they have to like you or they'll leave. And that, I hated that. Like in Dragon Age Origins. If they didn't like you, they would leave. And that, nobody wanted their character to leave. So if they ended up leaving, it's like, oh my god, I just lost that character. That sucks. But that means that you had to make your character, you didn't have the freedom to make your main character the way that you wanted to. You know, if you wanted to make your main character this jerk, you kind of, if you wanted all your party members, you had to make him a jerk, but then like a really nice guy sometimes, so that you didn't make them, so that your party members wouldn't ditch you. So that's returning in a different way. They're not really revealing how, but that's also returning. And then they're confirming that there is one mastermind behind this whole Terra the Veil. Another thing that I'm so excited about is the crafting system. You can create and customize armor for you and your allies. And, I mean, it says crafting in Inquisition is about customizing yourself, your character, your look. You could take an armor. Let's say you really liked an armor, how it looked like on you. I always thought about this in the previous Dragon Age games. I was like, oh, I really like that armor. But eventually that armor is going to be old. It's going to be low compared to new armor that you're going to find, right? You're going to find new armor, it's going to be stronger, and you'd be stupid to keep the old armor just because it looks good. So you have to change armor, but you're like, oh, I really liked how I looked like in that one instead of this one. Well, you could take, with this crafting thing, you could eventually take that old armor, the way that it looked, and make it powerful so that you could look how you want to look and still be wearing something that is strong. And I love that. And you could you could customize the color, and and you could do it for your party members. They said that they didn't like the idea of, Dragon Age Origins, you could change equipment on your party members, but sometimes your whole party almost looked the same because a lot of them were wearing the same armor as you. In Dragon Age 2, they completely took that out, and they completely limited you in that aspect. I hated that in Dragon Age 2. But in this one, they're changing that completely. They're not only just giving you the opportunity to change, to make the equipment, they also are setting like specific styles for each type of character. Like, for example, Cassandra. Cassandra has like this trench coat type of thing over her armor that has the seeker emblem in the back. You could change her armor, but she's always going to have that trademark look. So she doesn't look. So if you take let's say the silver armor, if you put it on Cassandra, and let's say you put it on Cullen, the same armor, because they're good armors, they're not going to look exactly the same. They're going to look different. So the Cullen version is going to look like a Templar's armor. This is just an example. And the Cassandra armor is going to look like a Seeker. So she's going to look like her, and Cullen's going to look like Cullen. So nobody's going to look the same. And I love that idea because I hated everybody looking the same, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, this is so stupid. The Dragon Age series has never really stuck to right and wrong. You know, they kind of leave you to however you want to do it. Dragon Age has always been about hard decisions where there's no clear moral path. If we can successfully argue either side of an issue and not feel like a sociopath doing so, then that is a good avenue for us to explore. I love how he says that because it's so true. Because, like, let's say I always use Fable 3 or Fable 2, any Fable, as an example. Fable was, you're either evil as hell or you're good as an angel. There was no gray areas. If you even said no to someone, you didn't just say no. Like in Fable 3, you didn't just say, oh no, you know what, I don't have enough money right now. No, it was like, no, go kiss my butt, get out of my face. It was like horrible, and you were just like, and this isn't. There's like a wide variety of a moral spectrum, which is good. But I love how he says it without feeling like sociopaths. The dialogue wheel returns with an optional addition to it. They were talking about how a lot of people were really pissed off. And this happens with all BioWare games. It's not just Dragon Age. Where they give you the dialogue wheel and let's say you choose one thing. You're like, oh yeah, I'll say this. And your character ends up saying something completely different where you're just like, I didn't know that that's what he was going to say or that's what she was going to say, because they only have a limited amount of space to give you like the gist of what the person's going to say. But sometimes it was like a bad interpretation of it. There's going to be an option. You don't have to put it on there. I think it's going to be something like, let's say you choose one little option and then I think like a pop-up is going to show up. It's going to give you like a little preview of what the person's going to say, your character, so that you're like, oh, no, wait, no, I don't want to say that. I think it's going to be like that. They're not revealing how, but I have a feeling that that's how it's going to be, and they're going to make it optional. So if you don't want to even have an idea of what your character is going to say, you don't have to. But if you want to have more of an idea, then you could do that. So I think that's pretty much it for the magazine. Next, let me talk a little bit about the Gamescom footage. For this, I'm going to show you some pictures on the World of Thetis and also some of the scenes that they showed in the footage. But yeah, to see the full thing without me talking over it and all that. I will provide the link in the description and an annotation maybe. But yeah, definitely go see it. Freaking awesome. But yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Another clip, I'll put it on here, is I was really curious as to know where this place was. It's not Orlais. It kind of, you kind of think of Orlais for the first time you see it, but if you look at the soldiers, those are not Chevaliers.